suggests, this is really some things that you can do if you have 15, 20, 30 minutes a week to do your marketing. A lot of it is also centered around web-based tools, making the programs very cost-effective. I know that many of you wear different hats at your business, and a lot of times, although you would like to spend a lot of time on marketing, it just isn't realistic. So this program is really centered around that, and again, designed to be very time sensitive and very resource low. So it's things that you can do with very little cash and very little time. And again, we're going to be doing a large Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So a lot of this we're going to be going through rather quickly. So you can jot down your questions or chat them over to Hannah, and we'll be sure to answer those before the end of the webinar this morning. Okay, with that, I'm going to start it off. So some things that we're going to discuss this morning, we're going to talk about getting ready to start your marketing campaigns. We're going to talk about creating a brand. For those of you that already have a brand, we're going to talk a little bit about how to be sure that brand is current and relevant for your audience. We're going to talk about tracking and measuring, making sure that the programs that you're doing are being effective for you. And then we're going to talk about some different tools. So from here on down, these are the tools in your tool belt. Your website, Facebook, Pinterest, which may be new to some of you, YELP. So creating your brands. A lot of times people say, you know, how do I start with this whole branding piece? This seems kind of daunting, and how do I choose my colors? How do I choose a logo? And I think the easiest thing to ask yourself is, what makes you unique and different from your competition? There's a really great book out there called The Purple Cow. It's about a 2-hour read. If anyone is interested in learning a little bit more about marketing, I think it's a great book. And just as the title suggests, it's how do you stand out in a field of black and white cows as the purple cow? How are you different for your customer? And when you're thinking about what makes you different, some good places to start are to think about what you're really, really good at. It could be customer service. You know, the people answering the phone, are they really prompt? Are they really kind? Are they really good at reaching out to the customer and getting to know them? Maybe that's your differentiator. Do you do really quick installations? Is it always a one-day installation? That's kind of your claim to fame. Do you give back to the community and you're involved in lots of local events? Maybe that's something that makes you unique. But think about those different things. And if you're the owner of your business, I would encourage you to think about not only what you do in your work life, but what you do in your personal life as well. Maybe you are interested in road biking, or you coach soccer, or you coach baseball. Bring those types of things into what you do with your solar business. You know, there's no reason that you can't leverage those networks, your personal networks, for the good of your business. And then what do you want people to know about your company? Share your company's personality. One thing that I always recommend is to have a photo of your team members on your website. You know, you can do that with an individual photo of each team member and a short bio that they can write up. But it's really great to show customers that you are just like them, you're local in their community, that when they go solar with you, they keep money local, they help put food on the table for you and your family and those people that work at your company. That's really important, and it helps them get excited about their purchase and excited about making a good decision with a local company. And then talk about why you started your solar business. Was it because you were interested in the industry? Was there environmental concerns? Talk a little bit about what got you into the business to begin with on your company's website. Share some personal facts about yourself and maybe some things that you do in your business that, again, make you unique and different. And then again, if you're involved in local community events, you know, you're on the board at a museum, you volunteer at a school, you coach, you do those types of things, share all of that on your website. And same thing for the people that work for you. Those are all things that will make you different and could be connection points for the potential customer. So a way to make a nice connection off the bat and win that customer over. Maybe give them a reason to do business with you versus your competition. And then use all of the above to determine your colors, to create your logo, and to drive your marketing. So if you are very community-centric and you're a small mom-and-pop shop where community is important, you don't spend a lot of money on advertising, that should be reflective in everything that you do. If you later do a large television campaign that's very flashy and has tons of expensive-looking graphics on your video, that probably doesn't mesh very well with the image that you've been putting out before then. So think about being consistent and how you want to portray your brand to your audience in general. And then be consistent. As new members of the team come on board and possibly as others leave, be sure to brief all the new employees. Maybe you take a few minutes to sit down with them over lunch, over bagels, over coffee, and go through the story of the company with them. Share with them why you got into the business. Share with them why you're passionate about helping customers. Share with them about what your competition's good at and what you need to watch out for, and then what you're good at and what you guys use to put your best foot forward. Be sure that everybody on your team is really comfortable with this story and is able to share it with a customer. You never know when, someone that might be working part-time as an install crew member might be wearing your company hat and someone could strike up a conversation with them. So you want to be sure that everybody, no matter what they do at the business, are prepared to have that conversation with potential customers. And then finally, spot check your materials. So look at different ads as you're putting out new creative pieces, maybe a radio ad or a print ad, or you're thinking about getting involved in a new community organization. Review that with your friends and family and trusted customers. One thing that is worth its weight in gold is to find a small group of customers that you really trust, maybe some people that you've worked with in the past that maybe have given you some referrals, people that have a marketing background, and ask them to review your materials and say, what do you think of this radio spot? What do you think of this print ad? What do you think of this article I wrote for our local paper? What do you think? Ask them for their opinion, and it's amazing what a lot of times you can find little things that you can optimize just by running something by somebody very quickly. You want to just verify that the correct message is being received and that it's consistent with your brand. And talking to different types of people, different segments of your customers will allow you to do just that. So tracking and measuring. So tracking and measuring is one of the less exciting parts of marketing, I often hear people say, but it's definitely the most important. It tells you whether or not your efforts are working hard, and I know that everybody on this phone call works very hard for their money and is very dedicated to their business, so it's important that your marketing dollars and your marketing investment is working just as hard. So one question I often get is, I'm putting up a new billboard, isn't that great? And I ask the customer a lot of times, what sales are you getting from that? How many sales are you getting from the billboard? And a billboard can be a great form of advertising, or it can be a horrible form of advertising. It depends on how many closed sales you're getting from it. So I'm sure everybody on this call has had phone calls from people selling Google AdWords, web optimization type services, or radio ads, or print publication placements. It's important that you ask yourself not how large of an audience am I speaking to, which is actually what will determine the cost of that placement, the reach of something. But of those customers that I'm talking to, a large group or a small group, depending on the placement, how many of those are potential solar customers? And then of those that are potential solar customers, how many of them will actually close on a deal if I go out and meet with them? You don't need to talk to a lot of people, you need to talk to the right people. So that's really important. And a simple way to do that is to just create an Excel spreadsheet. If you're not into computers, write it down on a piece of paper. Write down the customer's name. Write down how they heard about you. And the easiest way to start tracking and measuring is to ask everybody on your team, as soon as they answer the phone for the business, say, good morning, good afternoon, thank you for calling Bria Solar. How can we help you today? Listen to what they have to say and then say, that's wonderful, thanks for chatting with us. May I ask how you found out about this? Write that down either in your Excel spreadsheet, on your piece of paper, whatever you use to track and measure, something simple like that. And then at the end of every month, at the end of every week, at the end of every quarter, at a time frame that's convenient for you, look at where your sales are coming from. Look at how people are hearing about you. Look at whether or not they're purchasing a system from you, whether they're giving you referrals, what's happening with that customer, and then use that to determine whether or not your efforts are well spent in different mediums. So maybe all of your radio ads result in closed sales. That's a really good place to keep investing time and money. Maybe you're networking through the AYSO League is really paying off and you're closing a ton of sales. That makes sense for your business then. Maybe you did something for the American Heart Association and that demographic is perfect for you and that's resulting in closes. Whatever it is that's working for your business, it can be creative or not creative, fancy or simple, as long as it's resulting in closes and it's not costing you a lot of money, that's an excellent marketing activity for your business. So look at who buys your services and create a unique plan to reach them. Again, I hear lots of really creative different ways to reach the right demographic, and think about what your customer does on a daily basis from the time they wake up in the morning until the time they go to sleep, and you can find different nice ways to interact with them. So if your target audience is maybe a retiree, the retiree audience, it would be a good idea to possibly do something at local farmers markets, to do something in American Cancer Society events, American Heart Society events, doing different volunteer works where you'll see people of that demographic. If you're dealing with a lot of young families, maybe you want to work in a youth sports league or do something with a local elementary school or a local summer camp, that kind of a thing. So think about what your customers are doing and what their activities are like, and then interact with them in a way that they want to be interacted with. I'm sure everybody here has a website, but some key things that you have to have on your website. The first one is a contact form. I often see that people don't have this on their website, and I think one of the most important things in marketing now is to make your services convenient for our customer, to be a value add for them. So by the time most people come home, unless they're retirees, so they're not working outside the home, it's probably 5 o'clock, they get dinner on the table, they start talking with their spouse or their significant other about the solar project they've been thinking of. It's 6 or 7 o'clock at night, your business is closed. Let them interact with you right at that moment that they're thinking about solar. And a contact us form on your website allows them to do just that. It allows them to reach out to you on their own time, possibly not over a phone call, maybe over a computer, which is more convenient for some people if they're at their office and multitasking, or they have a baby that's sleeping in another room. Offer customers different choices, different ways to reach out to you, and the contact us form is a great way to do that. A company story, again, we talked about this in the first slide, but who you are, what makes you different, why they should do business with you, some possible connection points. Installation images and customer testimonials. If you have this information, your customers are willing to allow you to use it on your website, why not show a customer what different systems look like that you install? Share with them some different testimonials from past clients. Make them feel confident that you do great work, that it looks nice when it's finished. Different pieces of press coverage or associations. Maybe you wrote an article on battery backup or energy efficiency for a local publication or a school paper. Link to this from your website. Show people what you're doing in the community, the different areas of knowledge that your staff has. That way, they might be able to connect with you again on one of those points. And then some basic search engine optimization. I am not an SEO expert by any means, but there are some things that you can do on your website, whether you manage it or somebody else manages it for you. Be sure to use the words that customers search for throughout your site. So if I own a business, Bria Solar, and I work in the San Luis Obispo area, I'm going to want to use San Luis Obispo and solar over and over and over again. If I focus more on the residential space, I'm going to want to use, home, house, those kinds of phrases over and over again with solar and San Luis Obispo in the content on my site, in the story, in the testimonial area, the introduction, that sort of a thing. That creates content-rich keywords that allow people to find my website better. And then finally, there's the back end SEO work, which is training to be done by you if you manage your website yourself or by your web service professional. And don't be afraid to, on the back end, call out the names of your competitors. So you can use the names of key competition in your keywords tab if you're using a WordPress site, and that way if somebody types in the name of your competitor, it's possible that they'll see them first, but maybe they'll see you 2 or 3 clicks down on that Google search page, and be scrolling through a few different options and find your site when they're actually looking for your competitors. I'm sure many people already use Yelp, but if you don't use Yelp, one of the things that I would ask you to take 3 minutes to do today is to go to Yelp, YELP.com, and type in the name of your business. So once you do that, if you already have your own Yelp page, you'll see your Yelp page. It's a good time to go through and review any current reviews that are there and see if there's anything that you need to comment on. And for those of you that have never been on Yelp, it'll allow you to see whether or not your business has a Yelp page. Now, even if you did not start a Yelp page, it is possible that you have one for your business. And that's because a customer could have actually started it for you, either with a very positive or a very negative review. Usually it's one of the two extremes for starting a Yelp page for a business. But if you didn't start your Yelp page and you find one there for your business, there's a button right below that says claim this business. And if you own the company, you can click on that, and Yelp will allow you to take control of the page, which means that you can respond to reviews, you can update your hours of operation, you can add photos, you can put your updated contact information in there, and basically you can take control over the page. So one very important thing to do today is to go to YELP.com, take a look at whether or not your business has a Yelp profile, and take control of it if it does. So for those of you not familiar with Yelp, or maybe you have heard of it but you're not super familiar with it, Yelp is basically a way for people to share their thoughts and their feedback on a business on a web-based forum. So in the old days, I think people would have just talked about this around town. This is basically a virtual way for people to do just that. They are able to upload pictures of installations and write a review about your business. So a lot of people will actually, if you're searching for your business and you have a lot of Yelp reviews, you will find that Google actually gives preference to the Yelp page over your website. So it's an important place to focus. Google has been giving preference to third-party reviews and blogs lately, and Yelp fits perfectly into that category. So if I'm typing in Bria Solar, I might find that the very first hit is not my website, but my Yelp page. So it's a really important thing to keep track of, to visit. When you have positive reviews, write a note to that customer and thank them, write an email to them. If you see a negative review, go on your Yelp page, respond cautiously and courteously, acknowledging their complaint and offering to make it right as quickly as possible, showing good customer service. But this basically is a free online forum that you can share with people all the different things that you do and show them what great customer service you have. At the bottom of this page, and you'll also get a copy of this presentation, is some reading about getting started with Yelp. It's very simple. It takes about 15 minutes, and it's very worth your time. It's a free resource and a really great place to create some nice momentum for your business. Your business Facebook page is another wonderful place to interact with your customers and to create some new leads. So for those of you that may not have a Facebook page, getting started is very simple. It takes about 15 minutes. You choose a category and enter in your business information, your contact details and hours of operation, and then it actually, the startup mechanism allows you to scan through your emails and interact with people that you've already sent emails to. So that's nice if you use your work email account. Once you have your Facebook page going, it's a great way to manage content. So I always recommend that you make marketing part of your sales process. So just as we mentioned, as soon as you pick up the phone, how did you hear about our business? Logging that customer's name, logging how they heard about you. At the end of the sales process, chat with the customer, make sure they're happy, do all of your normal closing pieces, and then before you leave their home or business, ask them if they are on Facebook. If they are, it's a great way for you to keep their excitement level up about their new purchase of their solar system and take pictures of it for them. I've heard of one customer that actually uses a drone to fly over their house and sends them a drone video of what their house and their roof looks like with the system on. I thought that was so cool and creative. So if you're into drones, that can be a great fit for you. And if you're not, I think some simple pictures of the front and the back of their house, wherever the installation may be, would be appropriate. So you could post those photos and you tag the customer. Once that's done, it's really simple that the customer is able to see those photos in their news feed, and then all of their friends can see it. So most of the people I'm sure that you're dealing with, if they just put solar on their home, it's a big purchase. They're excited about it. So allowing them to have these photos directly on their Facebook page will make it simple for them to kind of brag and share it with their friends, and be excited about this new large purchase. I've also seen people use Facebook as a really great follow-up tool. So a lot of times those same customers that you posted the initial install photos, they'll post a picture of their energy bill, their before and after energy bill, and what a cool testimonial that is, how you're saving them money and helping them keep more money in their pocket. So don't be afraid to network with your customers on Facebook. You can reach out to them on their birthdays, on their system anniversaries. You know, maybe 4 or 5 months after you do the installation, put a calendar reminder to reach out to them and see if they've seen the savings on their energy bill. And if they have, you know, encourage them to post that before and after. That's always a great thing. And then drive to create group conversations on Facebook. One of our customers told us that they tried out different pieces of content. They would post, you know, energy efficiency articles, organic gardening articles, different photos of installations and projects, but the one post that had the most excitement on their Facebook page was a picture of the receptionist holding her brand new baby. And it's kind of a funny thing. You might not think that that would be the best thing to put on a company Facebook page, but if your receptionist is okay with that and you know, she's willing to have a photo of her and her new baby there, it could be a really great conversation point, because she was probably the one that answered the phone and the one that the customer first spoke to. And if they had a really positive interaction like they did with this particular individual, it would be really exciting for them to be able to see what's happening in her life and that joy and excitement. So think about sharing different things like that. Again, think about blending what is work and what is personal as much as you and your staff are comfortable with, and bringing that information to a Facebook page. There's also some great new insight details that Facebook launched to make it easier to track what is happening on your Facebook page and what posts are creating excitement and generating business for you. So right here I included some further reading on Mashable.com about the Insights feature on Facebook. One of the other tools I'd like to chat with you today about is Pinterest. So Pinterest is a very interesting forum. Think of it as an online scrapbook where people can save different design and lifestyle ideas. This is a very female-centric site. So if your clientele is mostly men, this will not be a good tool for you. But if you're dealing with couples, this could be a very, very interesting forum for you. So let's look really quickly at the graphic on the right-hand side that shows who is on Pinterest. So on average, these people have a household income of over $100,000, which I saw as something that was very encouraging. About half of them have children, and they spend about 20 minutes a day on this site. You've seen just explosive growth, 2,000% growth since May of 2011 on Pinterest. It's become a really social site, really great place for people to share different ideas. So something to consider for solar. One of the ways right now, there's very little solar content on Pinterest. On that bottom left graphic, you can see what comes up when you type in solar. You see some sunshine, some quotes, a person with a sunburn, the solar trees in Dubai, the underside of a ground mount system, but not a lot of content. And I think that there's a place here that, you know, solar installers can upload some more visual content. One of our commercial installation partners did a project years ago on a local school, and it was called the Athenian School. And of course, the letter A was their, you know, mascot letter. They had it up on a hillside previously. And when they did a ground mount system, instead of doing just standard panels in a row, they actually created the shape of an A on the hillside with the panels. And again, just something really visually interesting, kind of cool for someone that is interested in solar, considering what it can do for their business or for their home. That might be something fun to share. So I think where Pinterest could be really interesting is if your customer is a male and female couple, or if you're dealing a lot with the females in the household, why not show some pictures of her house right here? So if she has a beautiful garden and the system is on the front of the roof and you can see both pieces, take a few photos, upload it to Pinterest, share it with her, and then she can put it into her newsfeed and all of her friends can see it. Pinterest is not localized, so it won't help you necessarily generate business within your local area, but if you already have these photos, uploading them to Pinterest won't take you very long, and it could be a great way for you to share them with your customers. And again, here, if you are not in this space, if this doesn't sound of interest to you, think about who in your life or in your business might enjoy being on this forum. Maybe it's someone that runs your front office, maybe it's your niece, maybe it's your wife, maybe it's your girlfriend. Would they be able to help you leverage this social media forum for your business? It's a really enjoyable place once you're there and interested in it. So think about whether or not you could email that person some photos and they could post them on your behalf. Here's some additional updates on the Pinterest. So finally, just in closing, before we open up for some question and answer sessions, I would encourage all of you to think about how marketing can become part of your sales process. From the very beginning of where you ask them how they heard about your business and you jot that down to the very end of the close, where you're asking them if they're active on Pinterest, if they're active on Facebook, if they're active on LinkedIn, and then trying to network with them there. Make this part of your process. At the end of the sale, when you're driving back to your office, if someone else is driving and you're sitting in the passenger seat, take out your smartphone and look at the pictures that you just took of their home and business and email those to your customer or post those to Facebook if they gave you permission and tag them. Send them a thank you note and offer to be there if they have any questions. Set a reminder 3 or 4 months out to follow up them and see what energy savings they're seeing. Set a reminder for a year out to remind them of their 1-year anniversary. If you noted their birth date or any other special activities that are happening in their life, put that reminder on your calendar. All of those activities, once you get comfortable with doing this on a regular basis, will take you about 15 minutes to do from your smartphone in the passenger seat of a car. So let someone else drive, take that 15-minute drive back to the office to make that your marketing time, your post-install marketing time. It doesn't have to be expensive or take up a lot of time. It can just be something that is done consistently, and it can show a lot of efforts. So just in closing, some quick things. A lot of these are very much common sense and things that almost all of you are doing anyway, but it's good things to note nonetheless. Be aware that you're always representing your brand when your logo is present. So I know when I was younger, when I was 14 or 15, I worked at a summer camp, and they would always tell us at the end of summer camp to change out of our camp shirts, because the last thing they would want somebody doing is seeing one of their camp counselors going and having a beer at a bar or going and seeing a movie that a parent might not agree with. You just want to be really careful that whenever your logo is present, a potential customer thinks that that person is either working for your company or a direct brand representative. So if you're not the best, most courteous driver in the world, think twice about wrapping your vehicle with your company logo. Maybe your wife is a really courteous driver, and her vehicle would be better to have a bumper sticker. If someone's wearing a hat or a t-shirt of with your company's logo on it, think about how they behave and be sure that you're giving it to someone that you trust with your brands. If you have someone that has a house on a really busy street, ask them if you can put up some yard signs after you leave, or leave a few extra with them so that the yard signs stay fresh. That could be a great advertising point. If people look up to that person in the community, having your logo on their front lawn could be really meaningful. And again, if someone's outside mowing their lawn, a main fixture in your community, giving them a hat and some t-shirts, maybe a bumper sticker, or some things like that for their kids even, a little kid's shirt or hat would be really meaningful and very, very positive thing for your business. And then work local networks. Work with your local real estate agents, tax advisors, financial planners. Outside of tax season, maybe offer some local tax accountants, see if you can bring them in some bagels and some coffee or some sandwiches and see if they have any questions about solar. Chat with local real estate agents and do the same thing there. See if they have any customers that have any questions about solar, if they have questions about solar, and work those local networks. I also hear a lot of people that network with roofers and contractors, so think about who else speaks with your customers and how you can leverage those networks. Provide exceptional customer service and treat people the way that they want to be treated. That is so important, especially now in the world that is just becoming more and more transparent with social media. It's very difficult to get away anymore with having bad customer service or having a bad product. So be sure that when things go wrong, which they always do, that you respond in a way that's very courteous and that you do that in a timely fashion. So another great way to get in front of this is to have a conversation with your customer. Take a few extra minutes to get to know him or her. You know, if you're doing an installation and the people have young children at home, ask if you can, you know, do the louder parts of the installation outside of nap time. Ask if you can, you know, if they have a really beautiful garden, be sure to set the expectation that this area might get, you know, temporarily trampled or it could be endangered because of the installation, and ask them if they're okay with that. Be sure to sweep up and keep the installation area as clean as possible. A lot of times people don't know the technical aspects of a system, but they'll appreciate the way that their home looks when you're done working there. One quick example that I always use for that is that when my husband and I first purchased our home, it was completely destroyed. There was drywall dust everywhere. We were remodeling everything, and we had someone come out and install all of our windows. So he did the window installation, as good of a job as, you know, I would expect. But before he left, he wiped down all the windowsills, he cleaned all the windows, and then he left a stack of his business cards and a thank you note on the windowsill. And I was just so impressed by the fact that he took that extra time to dust down our, you know, drywall covered dust windowsills when we were in the middle of a remodel. And I didn't know at the time whether or not those windows were installed properly. They were, you know, they're still functioning 10 years later. But I saw the quality and the care that he took with the installation, and just what I could see, I felt very confident and comfortable with the work that he did. And we gave out all those business cards to people in our neighborhood that were also remodeling their homes, and hopefully he got some additional business from that. But solar is very similar, that a lot of people will not understand what is happening on their roof or out in their backyard with the technical aspects of the system, but they'll know whether or not you took off your shoes to go in their house. They'll know whether or not you left lunch trash sitting in their backyard, whether you were courteous and kind to their children and their animals in the home. So just be aware that, you know, sometimes people might not understand the technical components of the project, but it's important to show them in the things that they can see and the things that they can fully understand that you are taking really great care and being considerate. Look at attending community and industry events and thinking about different ways to network. Be considerate, go the extra mile. It's simple, it's free, and it matters. That's really the last thing I wanted to close on, that there's so many little things that you can do if you take the time to get to know your customer, interact with them in a way that's meaningful, and find ways to connect with them, either on your website and social media and your conversations. Note down those things that are important about a customer and use that to leverage for their business. And that's the conclusion of our webinar. So I'm going to turn over to Hannah, and she will begin the Q&A portion. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Bria. We can start off the Q&A session now. So if you have a question, feel free to submit it through that question section located on your control panel. We already have a few questions coming in, and we'll try to get through as many as possible. All right, and just before we start, I just want to make a quick note that you can exit the webinar at any time during or following the Q&A session, but keep an eye out for that survey popping up in a new window. It takes 2 to 3 minutes, and I'll send you a copy of the presentation slides. So we'd love to hear what you think. All right, and we'll start off with a question here. Bria, what do you think about Facebook inline promotion ads for solar? Have you heard of any solar company being successful with that?
Yeah, I had that question. I did an event up in Portland a few weeks ago, and I had that question. You know, really what that is it's you can boost your posts, and I think that's something that would be more effective than those individual ads. Personally, I never click on those ads. I think people that are in Facebook are fairly aware that they are ads. Boosting a post, however, could be something that is worthwhile if it's really, really good content and if it's solution-focused content. So what I mean by that, if it's an example of how to save money with energy efficiency and solar or something interesting, like, there's a lot of buzz right now about everything happening with Tesla and how that could help with energy storage for home systems. If you're knowledgeable on the topic and you can write an interesting post on that, that could be something that you could boost and have some pretty good reach. So I'd recommend boosting a post versus the ads, only because I haven't heard much success from anybody yet about it. And I think people are a little bit more aware of advertising content when Facebook has become sort of a fun interaction place, and I think people are just a little bit wary of advertising there.
All right, great, thank you. The next question we have, how should you respond to a negative Yelp review? Should you delete it?
Oh, I'm glad somebody asked that question. So I would respond to it in the exact same way that you respond to it if you get a phone call or an email in your business. Be sure to always take the high road. If someone, you're going to have good customers, you're going to have difficult customers. And when you have a difficult customer, the best thing to do is to take this as an opportunity to record on record that you are being cooperative. You can't always, you can't always change how someone is going to react to you, but reach out to that person. Most people reading a review will see whether or not that person is being fair, whether they're being biased and, unfairly harsh, and just respond courteously, quickly, acknowledge the fact that they're upset, offer to make it right. You can put your contact information and take the conversation and the details offline. What you don't want to do is create a back and forth of, well, you told me this, and so that's what I did here. You really don't want to do that in social media. You want to just say, I'm so sorry that you had a bad customer service experience. Your happiness is very important to us. We want to make this right. Please reach out to me here. If they say something specific and, claim that you never reached out to them, say, I'm so sorry that you didn't get my phone calls or voicemails. Please feel free to reach out to me either via phone or email at your convenience. I really want to make this right. So just stay very positive, stay very professional. I wouldn't delete a negative review. I think that the way that you react to it is the most important, and there's going to be positive and negative things that happen in a business, so your reaction to it is going to be the most important. And doing so in a timely fashion is especially important. So staying active on these accounts is vital.
All right, great. Just wanted to mention we had a great tip come in from one of our attendees. He wanted to recommend solar reviews for everyone out there. It's very similar to Yelp, but focused solely on solar companies. So thank you, Eric, for that great mention. All right, and our next question that we have, how much funding should be allocated to marketing for a solar business?
I hear anywhere between 10 and 20% is a rule of thumb, but it just depends on your customers. I spoke with a customer on the East Coast a few months back, earlier in the year, that was saying that they deal totally with cash sales and completely with the retiree population. They feel like that demographic has money to spend. They don't want to muddle the waters with anything else, and they work solely based on referrals. So they encourage their current customers to refer their friends. That works really well for them. I think they offer a $250, $300 referral, unless it's the beginning of the year or a slow month, and they bump that up another $100 or so. But think about where your customers are and how you can get creative to reach them. So if you're aggressively going after a competitor's territory, you may need to do some larger scale tactics like Google AdWords or a billboard or radio and television commercials. That can be expensive. That could cost you a lot of money in the short term, but it can help you gain some market share. But if you have a steady business and you have good clientele and you work on a referral system, sometimes it may only cost you $250 or $400 per referral. And I'd also recommend, instead of paying out cash as a referral, think about what you can do to support another local business. So instead of offering someone, a $300 payment, could you buy them a round of golf at a local country club? Or could you give his wife a spa gift card and get a discount on those purchases? So then you also help other local businesses. They'll refer business to you, and you could possibly get a discount on those referral fees.
All right, great. Thank you, Bria. Well, it looks like that's what we have for questions, so thanks everyone who submitted, and thank you for attending. That'll conclude our Q&A session, but we just want to let everyone know that we'll be posting the recordings of these webinars to our YouTube channel. So I really recommend going to visit our YouTube channel. Just type in AEE Solar in YouTube and you'll find our channel. And if you subscribe to that channel, you'll be notified when our presentations are uploaded. So then you can access those when they pop up. And don't forget to fill out that survey. That will just take a couple minutes of your time, and I'll send you a copy of the slides. Bria, would you like to say any closing comments here?
Thank you, Hannah. Yeah, the only thing I wanted to mention is that Hannah and I both work together in the marketing team at AEE Solar, and we are really here not just to do the marketing for AEE, but also as a resource for you. So if you have questions or want to run a website or an ad campaign, or you need help with something, you know, feel free to reach out to us. You'll receive a copy of this presentation with my email address. And I'm more than happy to assist where I can with things. I know marketing consulting can be expensive, and we really are here as a resource for our customers. So feel free to reach out if we can be of help, and have a lovely Friday and a wonderful weekend. We appreciate your business, and we appreciate your time this morning.
All right, thanks everyone, and don't forget to join us in 2 weeks for our next webinar. We have water pumping with PV up next. So exciting topic, and you can visit our website to sign up for that webinar. All right, thank you everyone. Have a great weekend.